Well, good morning, and I'm glad that you all could be here today. We are here for the What Works Marketing webinar series. James Bullis is with us today to help us understand how to easily get your business found online. The What Works webinar series really came about because I get so many questions when I talk to clients or I'm just out in the community asking about, so what marketing tactics really work? How do I need social media? Is it my website? How do I find people today? How do I get people engaged? And I realized that most people are familiar with traditional marketing, but there's so many different things that are constantly changing. And I know so many experts in the industry. And so I thought, what a great idea to let's talk to some people who really understand this really well, some of these new things that are happening, whether it's finding your business online, like we're talking about today. We've talked about online reviews, we've talked about video, all these different tools that are out there and why they're so important now, and why you should start incorporating these into your business. And so I'm really excited today for James to be here. What we're going to be talking about today, I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about the difference between marketing strategy and tactics, because that's my passion, is helping people understand all the different tools and how do you make it fit for your business, versus just taking tactics and throwing them against the wall like spaghetti to see what sticks. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then I'm going to let James talk about why it takes more than a website to help your business succeed online. He's going to talk about the 3 things that you really need to know about your business, and then get into some strategy and where you can apply this strategy even if you don't have a website. And then after that, we'll open it up again for some Q&A. So if you've got questions, want to know some more information, we can do that. So let's talk about a marketing strategy and really what is involved in that. What people really don't think about, as I mentioned, people throwing marketing tactics against the wall. And I've had so many people say, well, I've tried this strategy and it didn't work. Well, how long did you do it? 2 weeks. Okay, well, that might not have worked for you. But where a lot of people fail is that they don't talk about, they don't understand their own business. What's your company identity? What's your key messaging? Who are your customers and where are they? Where are they getting their communication messages? Really understanding who you are and who you're really trying to reach. That's such a key component to creating your strategy, because you got to know who you are first. And then your goals. What are your business goals? What do you want to accomplish for the year? What are you trying to do? And then figuring out marketing goals to achieve that. How do you break down those big year-long goals into smaller things and use marketing to help drive those business goals? I mentioned understanding where your customers, where your ideal customers are, where they're getting their information.
Muted you. I'm sorry. I was trying to admit somebody.
You're fired.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so much.
Ignore this recording, people.
So, understanding where your customers are getting their information is really going to drive what tactics are going to work for your business. And so really understanding those 3 things first, and then creating a marketing strategy that's right for your business. Where another place people often fail is that evaluation. I love setting marketing goals that, I like smarter goals, but I call them smarter, ER, because you need to evaluate and reset. So looking at you do a marketing strategy and you try all these different tactics, but really evaluating, okay, what works? These messages on social media had a lot of engagement, whereas when I tried something else, it didn't work as well. So let's eliminate that. Maybe I was on radio, maybe, there's so many tactics out there. It's really important to, at the end, figure out where your customers are really coming from. That way, you're not wasting time, you're not wasting on money on things that don't work for your business. Just allows you to tweak, reset, and then, start fresh with your next marketing campaign with all that knowledge that you gained. And so, as you can tell, I'm really excited about this. This is something I love to help companies with. But creating that online presence and your website, James and I have worked together with many clients before on websites and branding. And so I'm excited for him to talk today about really creating your online presence and all the different things that are involved in doing that. So I am going to read James's bio so you can understand where he's coming from. So James Bullis is the founder and president of Venton Web Solutions, a professional web design company based in Oklahoma. He currently works with small business owners who want to make the most of technology to improve their business. James has been a web designer and digital marketer for over 20 years. He's helped hundreds of business owners worldwide connect with their customers online. Today, James will share with us the critical foundation of any small business. While these foundational principles are no secret, the results from implementing these strategies will completely change the way you do business. So thank you so much, James, for being here today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let you take it from here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for trusting me with your audience. And the funny thing is I know everybody that's on this call right now, and I've actually helped all of you in one way or another with your online presence. Even Randall. Randall, I think we know each other from Social Media Tulsa, so that's exciting as well. So let me try to figure out technology. I'm a marketing technologist, but sometimes, technology doesn't really want to work with you. So let's see if I can figure this out here. I'm going to try to share my screen. Let's see what it does here. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Ah, cool. I'm very excited about that. All right, let me rearrange a few things here and then we can get started. Well, today what we're going to talk about is the secret to getting found online. And while getting found online is important, the key part of this is how to do it without wasting your time or your money. And so I think that's really important. Time is my most valuable asset, and I know it's all of your most valuable asset. And so I want to help you prevent wasting your time, your money, and your energy. Now, if I said the words online presence, would you think of it as an investment or an expense? And the funny thing is, Brad asked me this very question at our call just on Sunday, and I was like, ooh, I've got to include that because we work with a lot of people who look at their online presence as an annoyance. It's like not an investment, it's an expense. It's an expense of your time and it's an expense of your money. But knowing me, you're going to know I'm going to say that business owners must shift their mindset to see their online presence as an investment. Now, we just came through something that was world changing. Everybody, we don't even have to say what it is. We all know what we're talking about. And the big question now is getting online more important than ever? Is that true or false? Well, it's obviously true. What we found in my industry is all the businesses that we have been talking to for over 2 decades, 20 years to come and talk to us, about getting found online. All of a sudden, when the pandemic hit, they realized that was the only way that they were going to be able to connect with their audience. And what it revealed is that business owners must prioritize their online presence now more than ever. It's got to be done. And so when you think about getting found online, what are the things that you think about that's going to take? Some people would say social media. Some people would say search engine optimization, website, content marketing, email marketing, lead magnets, tripwires, core offers, shopping carts, copyright, the list goes on. And just when you think you got to figure it out, you realize it's actually a lot more difficult than that. Smart Insights is a company that has been tracking marketing technology tools for about 10 years. And this is their list from last year alone. These are just the top marketing tools. These are pieces of equipment that you can use or pieces of software that you can use to do all these different tasks. That's a lot of tasks. Every one of those pieces is a separate task that if you're truly trying to grow, these are the things that are out there trying to get your attention and get you to spend money with them so that they can make more money. And if you think this is bad, it gets even worse. When they started tracking this back in 2011, there was about 150 tools. I've been a professional digital marketer since 2006. And back then, it took about a week to learn everything there was to know about online marketing. And 2 years ago, they came out and said there are over 7,000 tools that are available for you to have to go and learn and grow your online business. Who has time to learn and do all of these tools? I know I don't. I can't afford to buy all these tools. And so this is what ends up happening. When I get customers, they tell me, hey man, I bought this amazing tool and then I learned how to use that tool. And then I tried the tool. And then one day the tool just stopped working. So I had to buy another tool. And then I had to teach myself how to do this. And then I gave up on it. So I tried something else and I do this, I do that. And what I end up doing is lose my mind. It's a perpetual problem. And everybody that I've talked to that has tried to build a business over the years has suffered from the same problem. It is just too much stuff to do. It's another chore out there. And so what I'm going to teach today are not actually any kind of tactics on how to get found online. What I'm going to reiterate to you today is the true foundation of a real business. The true foundation of a real business. If you do what I tell you to do today, what I'm going to share with you today, and I guarantee you, you're going to kick yourself when you hear just how basic these ideas are. But if you do this, I guarantee you, you'll be able to succeed. Before I tell you about that, let me tell you about how I came to discover this about my own business. Like Elizabeth said, I've been a web designer for 20 years. I've been a digital marketer for 15 years. And back then, it didn't take a whole lot to learn about marketing, but I started following this guy named Ryan Deiss. And Ryan Deiss, a lot of people know him because he starts teaching marketing tactics, how to use digital marketing. He founded a company called Digital Marketer, and they are educators. That's all they focus on. So he came out with courses. I bought all the courses. He came out with events. I attended the events. He came out with certifications. I took every one of the certifications so I could learn all of these tactics and apply them for my customer and apply them to myself. But I wasn't growing. I just knew that there was some kind of secret out there, some secret little thing. If they just said that one thing, it was going to unlock everything. I would be able to use everything and do it. And so Ryan invited me to another event down in Austin, and it was called Growth Secrets for Business Owners. And I was like, oh, yes, finally, this is it. I'm going to learn how to explode. I'm going to go be the next Mark Zuckerberg, right? Because he's going to tell me this little thing. And so I went down to the event, and I'm sitting in a chair in my event, and the stage is set, and Ryan and his partners come up on stage. And I'm just ready and I'm anticipating to hear what he has to say. And he starts by teaching the exact same principles I'm going to teach you today. And I got frustrated. I was like, are you serious? Why do they keep teaching this? I felt like they were cheating me because I felt like I have learned this from day one. And why am I not learning anything new? And then it dawned on me. It's because no one will do it. Everyone is so quick to get to the meat. It's so easy to start a business these days. Remember back in the day when you had to actually build a business plan to take it to the bank so you could get money so you could start a business? Now you just need a laptop that you probably already have. And so people don't take the time to truly plan and understand the value that their business comes from. Once I understood that, I went home, I unsubscribed from everything from Ryan Deiss, not because I didn't like the guy, but because I realized that in order for me to grow, I was going to have to implement these things that I'm going to teach you today. And it gets worse because once I truly understood that, I started to see it everywhere. I bought this book. This is a book that Ryan talks about all the time. It's called Breakthrough Advertising. It's written by Eugene Schwartz. It's a book from the 60s, and any copywriter worth their salt buys that book. When I first started looking for that book, you had to pay about $6,000 for a first edition of this book on eBay. In the very first chapter, they talk about these principles. I went to Traffic and Conversion Summit, which is one of the biggest marketing summits in the world, 10,000 digital marketers all in the same room. And every single session started with these very same principles. I went to Video Marketing World last weekend. I wanted to get outside of my comfort zone. I wanted to find different people who were talking about this, and they talked about the exact same things. So what I'm going to teach you is obviously important. And so, but it's also, it can make you have an identity crisis, to be honest with you. So my promise to you today is that I hope that by the end of this, you're going to stop wasting your time and your money. You're going to apply these concepts. And if you do it the right way, I believe that you can start truly getting found online. And again, I'm going to forewarn you, when I tell you what these principles are, you're going to hate me. As a business owner, what you need to be doing is answering 3 specific questions. And in fact, Elizabeth already mentioned them in her beginning of this webinar. And that first question, which can be the most agonizing, is who do you help? Boom, I'm done. Who do you help? That seems like a really easy question to answer, especially like if you're a roofing company. Obviously, you need to help people with new roofs, right? But as a digital marketer or as a service-based company, sometimes that can be a really hard question to answer. And I'll tell you right now, the most common answer to that question is everyone. And the reality is, it ain't happening. You cannot appease everyone. And so you cannot just target everybody that's out there. You need to have or develop an intimate relationship with the people that you help. You need to truly understand why they are the way they are. In fact, in this book, Eugene Schwartz says you need to know more about your market than the market knows about themselves. And so it's really important that you dig deep and truly understand who you help. And that's going to mean not helping some people, and that's okay. So what do you need to know about the people that you help? Well, you need to know their demographics. This is basically who they are. How old are they? Are they married? Do they have kids? What kind of education do they have? What kind of money do they have? Things like that. That helps you identify that you're talking to the right people and speaking their language. You also want to understand their psychographics. This is how they are influenced. So you need to know like what kind of podcasts they listen to, what kind of books they read, what kind of magazines they read, things like that. Who is speaking into their life? Because you have to be able to navigate that as well. But it goes deeper than that. You also need to understand their level of awareness. Some people don't even know they have a problem. Some people know they have a problem, but they don't even know that you have that solution out there. And so you need to be able to talk to people who are at different levels of awareness and be able to connect with them. And then finally, you also need to understand their market sophistication. If you're the first one in the field of whatever it is that you're doing in the marketplace, it's going to take time to build trust. If you're somewhere in the middle, you can get a lot of that trust already built in, but believability is going to be low because people make up stories in order to sell things. And so people are going to trust you less. If you get to that fifth level of market sophistication, you've been commoditized. And at that point, they're not gonna believe anything that you have to tell them. And so you have to reinvent yourself in order to really stand out in the marketplace. A good example of this is ClickFunnels. What's ClickFunnels? It's a software that helps you build websites. People are more apt to go and buy ClickFunnels than they are to just build a website, because Russell Brunson understood market sophistication and he changed the name. So we're not just talking about websites, we're talking about funnel hacking, we're talking about funnels, we're talking about ClickFunnels. And so when you truly understand your market, you can make those kinds of pivots. Once you understand your market, you can dig deep and you can ask the second question, which is, how do you help? You have to be able to help people with a specific problem. And when you understand your marketplace, you can dig deeper into that problem. A great book about this is Built to Sell by John Warrillow. And it's a very easy read if you haven't read it before, but it's basically a story about a business owner who was burnt out. It starts off talking about how he and his team are trying to help people from all these different industries do all these different things. And he was hating his life. He didn't have cash flow. He was doing these things in order to keep cash flow flowing. And instead, he wanted to just get rid of the business. So he went to his mentor and he said, I want to sell the business. And his mentor was business savvy. And so he evaluated his business by simply asking a few questions. And when they were done, he said, you don't even have a business. There's nothing worth selling here. And so you've got to make switches and changes in the way that you do business in order to make it valuable. And so what did they do? They went back and they identified their best customers and they figured out what industry they served the best. And then they went in and they looked at their invoices and figured out what service was the most profitable. And then once they figured those things out, they were able to start focusing all of their attention, all of their energy, all of their time and their money, helping those people with that one thing. And can you imagine if you know like who your market is and how you help them? Don't you think you'll be able to explain their problem better than they can? If you want to succeed, you've got to know your market better than their market knows themselves. And you have to understand their problem better than they understand the problem themselves. Once you figure out those things, it makes it a whole lot easier because it's going to change the way you talk online. It's going to change the way of who you talk to and how you talk to them. You have to show that you truly understand their problem. And you have to explain how you can solve that problem. And here's the best part. You have to understand the gap. The gap is the most important part. Imagine your customer is at the edge of a broken bridge and they're sitting on this side. And the solution to their problem is on the other side. And that problem keeps them up at night. And all they want to do is get to that other side. That gap is where you come in. The further that gap and the faster you can get them across that gap, the more money you can make. And so you have to truly understand who you help, how you help them, and why it matters. Because when you truly understand who you help and why you help them or how you help them, then you can visualize the transformation. Not only the transformation that goes on in your customer's mind, but also in your business. Because then it's not you going out trying to find business, it's business coming and trying to find you. You got to understand the transformation that happens. I love to cook barbecue. And so when I invite my family over, I'm going to buy the best barbecue products and cook it in the best possible way. Because what I want to hear when people try my barbecue is this is the best barbecue I've ever tasted in my life. That's the transformation I want. That's why I cook barbecue, because I love it when people tell me that, right? And so what people are paying for is not the product. They're paying for what the product does. And so I'm willing to go pay $200 for a brisket if it's going to be the best brisket my family has ever tasted. People that want a hole go buy a drill. They don't go buy a drill, they go buy the hole that the drill's going to make. If you want to dig something in the dirt, they're going to go buy a shovel, because not because they want that shovel, but because they want that hole. And so what Eugene Schwartz says is what they're really paying for is what the product will do. It's your job to explain that when you do business online. You want to bridge that gap. I use this little picture here because that represents what the gap can do. If you can help them bridge over that gap, that is where the real value is in your business. When you understand these principles and you do any kind of business online, whether it's social media, email marketing, content, whatever, you're going to call out to your market directly. I work with business owners. More, I work with solopreneurs. And so I'm going to be calling them out a lot more when I do anything online. I'm going to let them know that I understand what they're going through. When they know that I understand them, they're more apt to want to work with me. And then I'm going to help them visualize the fix. Now, these principles work two different ways. Not only will they allow you to understand who you help, how you help them, and why it matters, but you're also going to answer these other three questions. Who don't you help? You're going to realize what you don't offer, and you're going to accept your limitations. The most powerful word that you can say in marketing is the word you. The second most powerful word that you can say is no. It's okay to say no. When you understand your limitations, what you do is you go find other people who can fill those gaps for your customers. You partner with them and you refer them to go in and help them fill those gaps. It builds community. And just like a magnet, you're going to attract the right businesses. You're going to attract the right requests as far as services. You're going to attract the type of revenue in your business that's going to help you grow. But magnets work in two different ways. They attract the metals that they want to attract, and they repel the metals that they don't want to attract. And so your magnet is not only going to attract people, but it's going to repel the wrong people, because you don't want to waste their time and their money. And you don't want them to waste your time and money either. And so it's like a magnet. So how does this save me time and money? Well, when you get to truly understand your market and the problem and the transformation, you tap into something which is something that you cannot create, and that is desire. You cannot create desire. All you can do is channel a desire that already exists. That's on page 1 of this book, by the way. I mean, that was worth the $6,000. I mean, I didn't pay $6,000 for this book, but that was worth the cost of this book alone, is because most marketers that I talk to out there, they're trying to create desire, but you cannot do that. The desire already exists in your customer's brain. And so when you do these concepts, you'll be able to tap into that real desire. Then you're going to be able to find out what works first. When you're communicating with your customers, you're going to get real-time feedback from your customers, and then you're going to do something that's really important for every business owner that's out there. I don't know about you, but I trust my gut, and my gut is wrong almost all the time. It's not wrong all the time, but what if you had data that you could use to back up the decisions that you make in your business? Well, if you follow these steps, you will be able to make decisions about the way you do business online with data-based decisions. What I want to prevent is I want to prevent you from taking the wrong direction. You know, if you're off by just a single degree, you're going to end up a million miles in the wrong direction, right? And so if you go into this blindly, you're going to amplify the wrong desire. You need to truly understand the desire of your customer market and go in that direction. So how can you apply this today? If you wanted to apply these concepts today, this is what I would tell you to do. I would pick a single platform wherever your biggest audience already exists on the internet, and I would start focusing on overhauling that platform and making it focus on these principles. And what you're going to get is you're going to get that real-time feedback. If I were just starting out in business today and I had set up nothing out there, this is the thing that I would do. I would go on LinkedIn. And the reason being is because LinkedIn gives you the tools to be able to target specifically your best customers. You can go find people who are primed and ready and want to do business with you on LinkedIn, but it gets even deeper than that. See, if someone were to come to me today and say, I need a website, the first question I would ask them is, are you on LinkedIn? And most times they say, no, I'm not looking for a job. Did you know that LinkedIn was not created to be a job search place? Reid Hoffman, the creator of LinkedIn, created it for personal branding. And so what you have on LinkedIn is a search engine. LinkedIn has a news feed. LinkedIn has your personal profile, a company profile. It has email. It has the entire ecosystem of the internet all in one platform. You've got Google in there as a search engine. You've got your news feed, which is like the social media part of it. You've got your profile, which is kind of like your website, a company profile where you can amplify the results with other employees in your company. And you've got email to be able to message back and forth to each other. And so before I would tell somebody to invest money in a website, I would tell them, go today and set this up on LinkedIn so that you can test the results. What you want to do is use LinkedIn as your testing ground. And once you get LinkedIn figured out, then you move on to the next platform. And then you move on to the next platform. Do one thing really good on one platform. And then by the time you have figured out where all of your customers are and the problems you solve, and you really hone this down, then you'll be ready to put this out on a website. If you're intimidated by LinkedIn, I have a free mini course for you. It'll take you about 60 minutes to get through, but basically it talks about how you can go and improve your LinkedIn profile so that you can start implementing these tactics, these strategies, these foundational business principles in your business. It's going to allow you to go and use LinkedIn as that testing ground. It's a proving ground. And you can find that at linkedmvp.com. So what I've shared with you, that's about it. And it seems super simple, but don't let the simplicity fool you, because this can be a really hard task. In fact, I can tell you it can be agonizing, because just when you think you figured out all this stuff, you realize you have to go deeper. I was telling you that I was at Video Marketing World last weekend, and I bought a VIP ticket. And what that did was it allowed me to get access to a workshop before the event started. And they had 3 workshops to choose from. And I chose one called Advanced Video Marketing. And again, I had never heard of any of the people at this conference before. I had no idea who any of them were, even though there were some huge rock stars in there. But the guy that was teaching this is actually responsible for some of the largest growing YouTube channels on YouTube. He is currently the chief marketing officer for a skateboard brand that has a channel that is 3 times larger than Tony Hawk's. It's got 6 million subscribers on it. And so I was like, I've never heard of this guy. You've probably never heard of this guy, and he showed the results. He put them up on the screen. And I was like, I'll listen to this guy. Obviously, he knows what he's talking about. And the very first thing that he said was, you have to understand your audience. So many people try to get on YouTube and they do not declare an audience. And that's why they flounder on YouTube. You have to understand your audience. He said most people, instead of trying to understand their audience, they project onto them what they want them to hear. And the audience isn't going to listen to that. See, they're trying to create desire, but the desire already exists in their mind. So when you understand your audience, then you can create content that is made specifically for them. And that vexed me because that was the very first thing he said. And it actually put me into this identity crisis. And I swear to God, I went up to my room and I laid in the fetal position and I was like, who am I? What do I do? Who do I help? Because I needed to dig deeper. And so this can be an agonizing thing. It's a universal law though. I mean, if you're going to go fishing, wouldn't you want to have the right tools and the right bait? You got to know exactly what you're going and fishing for, what you're hunting for. So again, if you want a free little mini course on LinkedIn, you just sign up, you enroll with your email address. I haven't really done a whole lot with this as far as like marketing, but I really care about people improving their presence on LinkedIn. So even if you have a great LinkedIn profile, you'll probably learn a few things from that. And so I'd encourage you to go check that out at linkedmvp.com. So that's my presentation. I am available for you to connect with me, especially on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me. You can follow me on Twitter. And if you want to send me an email, there's my email address there. So that's all I have. Elizabeth, if you want to open that up for questions, I'll stop sharing my screen.
Fantastic. James, that was awesome.
Great.
I learned so much from that. And I work with ideal customers all the time, but where you're talking about going deeper, it's like those two levels deeper.
Yeah.
You know, that level of awareness and that market sophistication.
Yeah, I'd never even thought about it. In fact, it was interesting because I read the book. So the first section of this book, which you can actually get for like, it's $125 out there, but you probably don't want to buy it anyway. But the first section of the book it goes deep into this. And I skipped right over it. Even after reading the book, I didn't even realize what I had just read. Luckily, the guy who has the reprinting rights, Brian Kurtz with Titan Marketing, he offered like a boot camp where he kind of went through the book a little bit deeper. And one of the whole sessions was this level of awareness. And that was actually what started me on this, like, oh no, who am I? What do I do? Because I realized it goes so much deeper than I really thought. Then they got to market sophistication. I was like, I'm out of here. Like I was ready to just, let's go be a truck driver, like forget all this.
Well, that was awesome. So I'm going to share my screen right now, but I'm also going to open it up for questions. So who has questions today for James? I mean, this was a lot of stuff. Any takeaways from anyone?
Hey, yeah, this is Brian. James, you know that I'm a numbers guy, a financial guy. I look for the ROI and everything. And
Absolutely.
I kind of want to get your impression of this. As I've been working with Alpha Graphics and starting this business and so forth, when you're small, numbers takes big data. And to me, it almost seems like you have to decide what the right things are going to be, understanding the things that you've just talked about, but then not necessarily worrying about the one for one, but understanding if the entire approach works. Not, oh, hey, I got a lot off of Google, but not a lot off of Facebook, so I'll let Facebook go. But you kind of got to have this ecosystem, and is that entire strategy working or not the bits and pieces? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I always recommend that people start on one platform, that they're going to find. And basically the platform you start with is going to be dictated by what your market is. And so when you truly understand the demographic and the psychographics and where those people are, you should go find, you go find where they're at. If you want to focus on conservatives who love Trump, obviously you want to go on Trump Social when it opens. But if your marketplace is on LinkedIn, you want to definitely plant your flag there and then evolve out from that point. And so even with a small following, you can make big results, because those people who follow you in the beginning are the ones that are really going to dictate and kind of support you all the way through this process. And so, like when I was having my identity crisis last weekend, I don't know if you guys noticed, but on LinkedIn, I started asking questions, because I was asking, like, what's the secret to really understand? I mean, I asked everybody. I talked to my mastermind. I talked to everybody. I was like, what's the secret to finding out about your market? And they're like, ask them. And you might only get a few answers up front, but they're powerful answers, you know? And so as you start going in that direction, but again, this evolves over time. So as you grow, you may find that your market changes, you know, and you may find that you need to make some adjustments and stuff like that, but you got to get started in a direction.
James, what's your recommendation for understanding those demographics, psychographics? How do you go about, when you're working with clients, finding this information?
You know, it helps better if you already have an existing business, for you to go back and look at who your best customers were and what the best products were. In fact, I was telling Mike before we got started with this, I was going to talk about his business, because I realized I want more people like Mike. You know, I want more people who are these consultants who are trying to make big impacts out there, but don't necessarily have this big, huge team to rely on, you know. And so I was able to do that by going back and looking through my clients, and really figuring out the people who were the best fit for me. Sometimes when you're first starting out in business, that can be a little bit tough. So you kind of have to take a wild ass guess about it. You know, you just got to do a hypothesis and see what works out. I think you see this a lot in YouTube channels. Like when they start out, they think, well, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And then what eventually happens is something sparks and it starts to take off. And then they hone in on that thing. And of course, trends change over time. So you have to be able to adapt with it. But yeah, the best thing you can do is just get started.
So I'll ask another question. You talk a lot about LinkedIn, and I don't have much of a difficulty with LinkedIn from the personal side, because I find things that are interesting and, you know, that I can say something meaningful about.
Yeah.
But when I look at the business facing side of LinkedIn, unlike Facebook, I find it hard to find things to talk about, because I get the feeling that it needs to be, bluntly, more substantive.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts there?
When you say substantive, do you mean like buttoned up and more business, like business attire kind of stuff, or like you really need to get more deeper into the concepts?
Well, so for example, on Facebook, you know, I can show something, you know, cool that we've put together for a client. You know, if client's going to a trade show, I can show all of the things that we've put together, and kind of promote that client as well. On Facebook, I feel like I need to be saying something of significance that is going to resonate with the user,
Mhm.
not just, oh, hey, here's something really cool that we just did. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah. So on LinkedIn, you're saying that you want to be able to put things out there. You know, business owners, I think it's actually a lot harder to capture the attention of business owners on LinkedIn than it is on Facebook, mostly because we're so pressed for time. I think the average spin rate on a LinkedIn session is about 20 minutes. And so you see a lot of people just kind of flipping through, just like any other social network that's out there. I think that the best things that you can put out, I think you should share what you guys have done. You know, I think you should share lessons that you've learned. I see LinkedIn becoming more of an emotional place, because I think that more business owners are realizing humans connect with humans. Ties don't connect with ties, humans connect with humans. And so you can use it as an opportunity to share what you've done out there. Really, if you're struggling with what to post on LinkedIn, ask them. ask a poll. That's why polls are so popular right now, is because people are willing to quickly answer them and they feel like they provide a value back to you. And even if you get like just 2 or 3 responses to that poll, those can actually be make a huge impact. Say, hey, would you be interested in seeing some of the stuff that we're doing, and maybe show us some examples in the next couple of posts. And sometimes you might need to throw an article up there and share an article, or sometimes you need to do a video. Actually, all the time you need to be doing video, because I think more people are apt to look at videos, and they need to be short. I'm talking about like a minute or less on there. But yeah, I mean, really, you just got to ask them what they want to see. You bring a unique perspective to what you do. And so if you're giving out tips, I always say, like, on the news feed, provide value 120% of the time, because the goal, which I cover in Linked MVP, is the goal is for you to go and engage on the news feed and get your, what I call the LinkedIn Trinity out there. That's your picture, your headline, and your name out there. Every time you post something or comment on something, those 3 things pop up every single time, right? And what the goal of that is you're throwing out bait, and the goal is to get them to come to your profile. See, if you are posting stuff in the news feed that takes people away from the platform, the algorithm will actually work against you. So what you want to do is you want to post things in the news feed that will entice them to come to your profile. Then you use your profile as a means to get them off the platform so that you can retarget and do all this other stuff with them. So yeah, that's what you're doing. Just look at like the bite-sized stuff that you're putting out there. You're just trying to get them to come to your profile so then you can have a little bit more of a conversation with them. That was a lot really fast. It's funny how all this stuff works together. Like, I know I was wanting to speak at a conference about social media. They wanted me to come and talk about websites. And it's like, yeah, but the foundational principles go deeper than that. And so that's why all this stuff works together. It's the same principles all the way around.
Well, this is a lot of good stuff. There were a lot of nuggets to take away from this presentation today. So thank you so very much. Do we have any other questions before we wrap up?
I'd like to make a comment, if I may.
Please.
So, James, just like you said, there was nothing particularly new about this. So if any of us were sitting around, or anybody that watches us in the future sitting around looking for that silver bullet, obviously it wasn't there. This is a lot of marketing 101. However, even as a business owner, I'm reminded of how terrible we tend to be at sustaining these behaviors and actually building the discipline of doing them.
Yeah.
And to bring up the point regarding the LinkedIn, I found my way to you via LinkedIn. It worked exceptionally well. You had a very good presence. You were very convincing. And then we got off LinkedIn and formed a relationship that obviously is still going.
Absolutely.
A quick question. Do you remember what that skateboard brand is or was from that guy that was talking about that large brand?
It's called Braille.
Braille? Okay.
Yeah, Braille. I think it's called Braille skateboarding or something like that. And what they did was they truly understood who their audience was, which is the kid whose mom goes out and buys them a $50 skateboard. And they're like, there's no way you can do these things, so like they do a lot of videos where people, like professional skateboarders, are using all these crazy things and showing how it can be done. And so then the audience shares their wins of like a 12-year-old being able to hit a 25-foot, it's just all these crazy things. But by actually knowing who their audience was, they're able to far surpass even what Tony Hawk offers, so.
Yeah. That's cool. That's impressive. And I ask because I skateboard still, even at 50.
Oh, nice.
I
nice.
love to skateboard, and I do almost every day.
You should check out that thing, because like the guy's like, I'm in my 40s and I still skateboard, and they brought in a bunch of the skateboard guys. Like there was this guy from Australia who I've never heard of, but if you're into skateboarding, you'd probably be like, oh my God, get me a skateboard from this guy.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. This was really helpful from my point of view, and I've taken 2 pages of notes right here that are gold. And so anyway, thanks again.
Absolutely. I'm glad it was valuable.
Well, I very much appreciate you all being here, and I hope that you have gotten some value out of these What Works webinars. Want to let you know of the next two that are coming up. We've got one on, I would tell you, but it's right there. It is. Technology. My little bar was right over the date. November 18th, Camille Diaz is going to be talking about podcasts for fun and profit. She is a local business owner that's been doing podcasts for a long time, talking about, share her insights about how, as a business owner, she's used the podcast to grow her influence and the impact of her business. And then she's also going to give some tips if it's something you've been thinking about before on what you need to know when starting your own podcast. And then, because I love talking about marketing strategy, on December 16th, I'm going to be giving a mini course on what it takes to, all the different steps that it takes to create a marketing strategy. Figure going into the new year, it might be time to think about what's your strategy going into Q1. And I'm always open to webinar topics. So if you've got some ideas on things that you'd like to learn about, I would love to hear that, because I know a lot of people in the industry, and I would love to share more insights from experts who really, really know their stuff. So with that, we're going to wrap up today. And I just really want to say thank you for being here. And if you have any questions about creating a marketing strategy or need any help, please reach out to me. My email is elizabeth@elizabethkingconsulting.com. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you all have a great day.
You too, Elizabeth. Thanks, James.
My pleasure.